Hi guys, I'm Tanya, Blooming in Place. I am taking care of Compost, answering some questions. I've gotten some emails, I've had a few phone calls from friends, and a few comments on the bottom of my videos asking me about compost. I live in a very polluted area, highly industrialized area. I pretty much compost food items and items from my garden. My gardens are always done in containers or raised beds. What I grow in the ground, I just don't grow leaf or root crops in the ground. I grow my tomatoes, I grow peppers, things like that. So anything that is edible that I do not feel has been contaminated by the pollutants in the air, I put in my composter. This is for my vegetables and for my pots that I grow food in. I do run a cold compost bin that I have made out of hay bales in my backyard. It is 35 feet from any of my neighbors' houses. Therefore, I don't have to worry so much about rodents in that. We have a huge stray cat population problem here. So they help keep the rodents down. But when you are in the city, you cannot do in the ground compost. I see people do bags, I see them do cattle panels and make a circle out of them, or they go get pallets and they make a compost bin out of 4 pallets, things like that. You cannot do that in the city proper. I'm sure people do, but at any given time, your neighbors can complain and the city may make you get rid of it because of the rodents that it draws. This building, my neighbor, our houses are 12 feet apart. That puts this tumbler about 6 feet from my neighbor's back door, or close to the back, about 6 feet from my neighbor's house. They would be in their rights to complain if I had something going on there that was drawing rodents. This tumbler is up off the ground. Here you go. See, this is a compost tumbler. Let me see. This is a compost tumbler. And there's the phone number. I don't know if they're still in business. They sold this tumbler on the, oh, it makes compost in 6 weeks. You just crank this handle here. Does not make compost in 6 weeks as advertised. The only thing this does for me is it makes compost that is not on the ground, so my neighbors aren't complaining that I'm drawing rats. It does enable me to turn the compost without having to use a pitchfork. And that is heat. That is steam coming off of it. So that one's doing well. I'm gonna leave it alone. Well, I do have something to add to it. So here we are. I'm using my garbage dumpster as my table, but this is how I compost in the kitchen. Is I open a grocery bag in an old steam table tray. It's a perfect fit. Into the bag goes my kitchen scraps. The bag itself is compostable, and I put it in my composter right here. Now, where I'm at with this is usually through the holidays, October, November, December, this fills up really fast because you have all the table scraps and all of that. And then after the holidays, I let this compost and I fill up this side. As you can see, now that is chicken. I've been putting newspaper over the bottom of the brooder box and putting that in there. Now, let me dump my nasty little pan and get rid of all of this stuff. Yucky, yucky. Nasty job. Normally it isn't nasty. Normally it's just a flip right up. But I put a lot of coffee in there. Speaking of coffee, so looks like a garbage pit. Beginning to look like something you'd plant your plants in. Now, what I did is I went to Big B, which if you guys ever do Starbucks here in Michigan, Big B is Starbucks' biggest competitor. And I asked them if I could have their days spent coffee grounds. And they said yes, as long as I return the bucket. So, I'm going to set you guys here in the trunk of my car. And this is the bucket. I don't know what that is. It's not a 5-gallon bucket. I figure that's got to be a 7-gallon bucket. But she said, give it back, because that's what they use for everybody. And you return the bucket, and they'll be more than happy to refill it as many times as you want. So, sorry guys, I could not maneuver the camera and dump that. But if you can see, can you see all that? That is the coffee filters, the coffee grounds. You can see the little discs from the espresso. And I added some over here, not as much. But I also have, a bag of the pine shavings to go in here from the chicken brooder. A mix combination of the chicken poo, bedding and whatnot, and it goes in this side of the composter, because really this side I'm done adding to it. I want it to just compost, but I figured some coffee and some coffee grounds with that steam, that heat, that'll keep it going nice and hot. And this one, I still have a long ways to go in adding. I've got the chicken manure on the newspaper and the pine bark bedding from the brooder box mixed in with coffee grounds, plus all my food scraps that I produce throughout the week. I have not added grass clippings. I live in a really polluted area and I've never been comfortable adding that to my compost. So I used to have a restaurant that they were wonderful. She would save all the eggs for me. They were called the Zenith Lunch, and they served breakfast and lunch, and in a day she could have me a 5-gallon bucket of eggshells, and those were easy enough to toss in here and really keep things going for me. Unfortunately, she has passed away, and her grandchildren, her children closed the restaurant, and I am still looking for a replacement that I don't have to drive 20 miles to get to. So I have to return the bucket to Big B, and then I'm swinging by the old Delray Bakery because they have 5 buckets for me to make a chicken feeder, a chicken waterer, and then 3 of them for potato buckets. So I'm on my way there. You guys can come along with me. So anyways, for my composter, I do not have a specific recipe. As long as it is getting warm, I just keep balancing it out. I figure a paper grocery bag plus whatever things I'm putting in there, whether it's napkins or paper towels or something from around the house that I can shred up and throw in that bag. And the veggies, when it starts to get a little bit soggy and the bag get a little bit damp, I figure it's a well balanced and I throw it in. Or when I don't want it in my kitchen, I throw it in. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you put something in there that isn't too good. So I clean out my refrigerator into here. I put eggs in here. I put the eggshells in here. I do put the entire thing in. I will put yogurt in here, into my kitchen pile. I do milk once in a while in very, very small amounts. I have put Coca-Cola in here, again, very small amounts. I don't want it puddling inside the metal container, but if it is really dry in there, I'll pour a little bit of Coca-Cola in there. That gets it heated up. But no specific recipe. I just try to mix it. If it's starting to get too wet and too soggy, I add some extra dry stuff to it. And if it gets too dry, I throw in some wet stuff. These vents, if it is really dry, I'll leave these up so that it catches the rain. Otherwise, these vents, see, I don't know if you can see in that or not, but these vents will let air flow through, and it keeps the rain out for the most part, depending on where you angle it. So for composting, don't make it harder than it is. You can do it in a garbage can. You can, if you're in the city. I know out in the country, just make a pile. It'll break down. You add what you want to it, depending on what you want your soil to be. This I use for growing my food in, so I want it to be mostly food scraps. I want it to be my potato peels and my carrot peels and the head of lettuce that wasn't used, or the core of the lettuce, or the core of the cabbage, because those are the things I'm going to be growing in this soil, and I want all of those nutrients back into it. And there we have it. We're in the back of the store because it's in one of those shopping plazas. I put the bucket by the back door. She told me they will fill it up and I can come pick it up tomorrow night. So I will add the rest to my passive or cold compost in the back. Now that I've got this dropped off, I'm going to head over to Old Delray Bakery and pick up some buckets and lids and some homemade, well, Old Delray Bakery bread. Can't be beat. Okay, I have arrived at the Old Delray Baking Company. He gave me 5 buckets, 3 of them with lids, free of charge because I'm a regular. And so while I was here, I bought some hot bread. And it is, when I say hot bread, fresh out of the oven, still warm. Look at that crust. Oh my gosh. You can't beat it. Look at that. Hot out of the oven. Old Delray Bakery. Best family-owned shop. Been open, I don't know, like 80 years. They closed briefly, then reopened, but they are spectacular. I look for them. I demand grocery stores carry them. They're so good.